Hello everyone, Barbara Rankin here, and I am your video creator for ColourArte today. I found this wooden bat-shaped laser cut in my local Michael's craft store. It was already painted black, but I am going to give it one coat of black gesso just for my own peace of mind, knowing that my next layers will stick. Okay, my piece is all primed with black gesso and completely dry. The next step is going to be to spread a thick and thin coat of crackle paste over the entire background. Use a spatula to spread the crackle paste, but try not to work it too much. Thick areas will give you bigger cracks and thinner areas will give you finer cracks. Do not try to speed the drying time of crackle paste with a heat tool, as it simply won't work. Be patient and set the piece aside to dry naturally. Close your jar and clean off your tools as soon as you are finished. So I'll set my piece aside to crackle in its own time, but we can work on other things. I want to add details so my bat is more than just a silhouette. If you are unsure what details and where to place them, just Google search line drawings of bats and you will get all sorts of help for the next step. Now I know we have all experienced opening a bottle of paint that we've had for a while, and it is either all dried up or on its way. I've had this jar of Periwinkle dimensional paint for a couple of years, and it is not completely dry, but rather like polymer clay. Here's the good news. It's perfect for my next step. So grab a spatula or any kind of tool to get this out of your jar. And as you can see, it is almost like polymer clay. It's quite kneadable. And I can squish it and form it and do all sorts of things with it. But what I want to do is make ropes with it to add dimension and detail to areas of my bat. So using the heel of my hand, you can sort of spread this. It's the same technique used for clay. If you've ever played with clay, you probably already know how to do this, and if not, this is how simple it is. If you use your fingertips, it will get wrinkly, and you don't want that. So, and if that happens, you can kind of push it back together. So use the heel of your hand to kind of move along as you're rolling it along the rope to get it thinner and to also smooth it out. And when you get it to the thickness that you want, and I'm looking for something, I would say around a 1/4 of an inch thick or less, and it's up to you what you prefer to do. And just keep rolling it until you get as much as you can out of it, because we can cut it and then use pieces of it. So just keep doing that until you like the whole length of it and the thickness is correct, and then just set it aside to dry. Pull more out and do the same. Now I already know I'm going to want to make some eyes. So what I need is either one ball that I can cut in half or two small ones. And so you won't need too much for that. If you're going to do tiny ones, you can see I don't have very much in my hand. And you can just sort of roll it around in the palm of your hand until you get it to the size that you want. And you'll want to do the same with the second one. Try to get close to the same amount of, I was going to say clay, but paint in this case. Let's see. Those are pretty close. And so this is all you need to do, is just kind of roll it around in the palm of your hand and set the little ball aside to dry. Now to make his nose, I've just got a tiny little piece of clay here, and I'm just sort of pressing it down. This is a Teflon bone folder, so it's pretty useful for keeping things from sticking to it. You can use your fingers if you need to. And let's see, I think his nose needs to be pretty small, really. And so I'm just thinking something maybe like that. And then you can take your finger and sort of smooth it about a little. And I will use my tool just to make little nose holes. And if this turns out to be too big, you can always trim it with your scissors. See if I can give you a bit of a close up there. Okay, so I'll just set that aside to dry as well. If you find your jar of 3D paint in this condition, it is a good idea to go ahead and use it up before it dries hard as a rock. It won't be usable at that point. Silicone molds are perfect for using up the leftovers. Simply roll it into a ball, make a point for detailed molds like this, push it in, and then peel it out of the mold to dry. Some areas are still not completely crackled, but it is dry enough for me to work on, so I began laying out my rope pieces and trimming them where needed. If they are still too thick, you can roll them more to thin them out. I'll be using my fast grab tacky glue to adhere these, and my craft knife to cut them to size. Lay down a bead of glue along the edges and along the ribs of the wings and adhere the ropes, cutting to size with either your craft knife or scissors, and then set aside to dry. Spread the graphite texture paste with a small spatula, shaping it to look like the body of a bat. Use the spatula to make a small indentation along the chin to separate the head from the body. Remember the eyes and nose we made from the 3D Radiant Gel? This is a good time to adhere them to the face while the graphite paste is still wet. They should hold in place. I also decided to add some indentations in the paste to delineate the ears before the paste dries. Okay, the graphite paste is dry now. So let's cover everything with a light coat or wash of China Black Vivid and a little water. At first I began adding washes of color and removing most of it with a damp baby wipe. I added layers several times, but each time leaving a bit more of the wash. The color seemed to become less mottled and more smooth with each layer. I used my heat tool on the last layers to control the color application by drying it before it had a chance to run. Next, I added a light coat of the Vivid Ginger Peach. As you can see, this color is very translucent when applied with a light touch. Lightly brush the Solar Gold Vivid from the bottom of the wings with an upward motion, but only brush halfway up. I also dry brushed the tendons, I guess they are, with the Solar Gold. Now paint the top half of the wings and tendons with Vivid True Metals Autumn Flame, blending the color into the solar gold. Now I want to add some purple and blue onto the wings, but because they are complementary colors, I want to make sure my paint is dry so that I am layering them on top of the yellow and orange colors rather than blending them together, which could make mud. Place puddles of the Bolivian blue and Snapdragon onto a craft sheet. Then pick up the Snapdragon first with a sponge dabber and dab the color over the wings. Repeat with the Bolivian blue. The depth of colors is hard to capture on video, but it is really amazing in person. Sometimes it is hard to know when to stop, but I knew I wanted the sparkly effect of the True Metals Autumn Flame. The real metal bits are what give this color such a beautiful shimmer. Just sponge it over the wings as before. Next, I wanted to add some coppery brown to the bat's body that I could only get with Vivid Autumn Leaf. Simply sponge it over the graphite paste for a shimmery Halloween critter. I used KIWI Vivid to highlight the eyes and nose. Later, I also added a dot of Snapdragon to each eye and painted the ears with Snapdragon. You will be able to see this in the close-ups at the end of the video. While I still had a bit of the kiwi on my craft sheet, I decided to see how it would look on the edges of the wings. I was not recording when I started adding it, but you can see how great it looks. Well, that's it for today's project. I hope you enjoyed my Halloween bat home decor piece and that you might give it a try. I am still trying to get photos of the shimmer, so these first two photos were taken outside in bright sunlight. The rest were taken indoors in my studio. I hope you can see how pretty these colors really are. If you enjoyed today's project video, please give me a thumbs up, and I hope you will consider subscribing to my channel so you won't miss any future tutorials. As always, thanks for watching, and always take time to play.